Vacha Arjuna Vacha Sanya Sasya Mahabaho Tvatvam Ichhami Veditam Tyagyasya Hrishikesha Prithakeshi Nisudhana Arjuna Vacha Sanyasasya Mahabaho Tattvam Ichhami Veditam Tyagasya cha Hrishikesha Prithakesi Nishudhana Arjuna Vacha Sanyasasya Mahabaho Tattvam Ichhami Veditam Tyagasya Hrishikesha Prithakesi Nishudhana. Word by word meaning. Arjuna Vacha. Arjuna said, Sanyasasya of renunciation. Mahabaho, O mighty armed one. Tattvam, the truth. Ichhami, I wish. Veditam, to understand. Tyagasya, of renunciation. Cha, also. Hrisikesha, O master of the senses. Prithak, differently. Kesi Nisudhana, O killer of the Kesi demon. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Arjuna said, O mighty armed one, I wish to understand the purpose of renunciation, Tyaga, and of the renounced order of life, Sannyasa. O killer of Kesi demon, master of the senses. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Actually, the Bhagavad Gita is finished in 17 chapters. The 18th chapter is a supplementary summarization of the topics discussed before. In every chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna stresses the devotional service onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate goal of life. The same point is summarized in the 18th chapter as the most confidential path of knowledge. In the first 6 chapters, stress was given to the devotional service, Yoginam api sarvesam. Of all yogis or transcendentalists, one who always thinks of me within himself is best. In the next 6 chapters, pure devotional service and its nature and activity are discussed. In the third 6 chapters, knowledge, renunciation, the activities of material life and transcendental nature and devotional service were described. It was concluded that all acts should be performed in conjunction with the Supreme Lord, represented by the word Om Tat Sat, which indicates Vishnu, the Supreme Person. The third part of Bhagavad Gita has shown that devotional service and nothing else is the ultimate purpose of life. This has been established by citing past acharyas and Brahma Sutra and the Brahma Sutra, the Vedanta Sutra. Certain impersonalists consider themselves to have monopoly on the knowledge of Vedanta Sutra. Certain impersonalists consider themselves to have a monopoly on the knowledge of Vedanta Sutra, but actually the Vedanta Sutra is meant for understanding devotional service. For the Lord himself is the composer of the Vedanta Sutra, and he is knower, and he is its knower. That is described in the 15th chapter. In every scripture, every Veda, devotional service is the objective. That is explained in Bhagavad Gita. As in the second chapter, a synopsis of the whole subject matter was described. In the 18th chapter also, the summary of all instructions is given. The purpose of life is indicated to be renunciation and attainment of the transcendental position above the 3 modes of material nature, 3 modes of nature. Arjuna wants to clarify the 2 distinct subject matters of Bhagavad Gita, namely renunciation, tyaga, and renounced order of life, sannyasa. Thus, he is asking the meaning of these 2 words. 2 words used in this verse to address the Supreme Lord, Hrishikesa and Kesi Nishudana, are significant. Hrishikesa is Krishna, the master of all senses, who can always help us attain mental serenity. Arjuna requests him to summarize everything in such a way that he can remain equipoised. Yet he has some doubts, and doubts are always compared to the demons. He therefore addresses Krishna as Kesi Nisudana. Kesi was the most formidable demon who was killed by the Lord. Now Arjuna is expecting Krishna to kill the demon of doubt. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namo Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Sri Guru Sri Utpadakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavamsha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakha Vitamsha हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमो जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवाश आदि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नीलाचल निवासाय नित्याय परमात्मने बलभद्र सुभद्राभ्यां जगन्नाथाय ते नमः. So thank you so much for joining this wonderful Sangha where we systematically discuss Bhagavad Gita verse by verse, which gives a very profound meaning of this very powerful transcendental science which is spoken by the Lord himself. And here it's a dialogue. Bhagavad Gita is a dialogue between the Lord and his greatest devotee, Arjuna. And here Arjuna is asking the question in the beginning. And prior to this 18 verse chapter, there are 17 chapters. And as La Prabhupada is summarizing with the first sentence of the purport, actually the entire Bhagavad Gita is spoken. Now we're actually in the supplementary situation where we are discussing or summarizing whatever we have learned. So what you're going to learn is essentially the nectar of all that you have learned in the last, uh, somewhere around 620 or 30 verses, which over a period of 5 days, a week, it has taken, close to couple of years to get there. So the real summarization of the 2 years of systematic hearing, discussing, and reciting Bhagavad Gita is starting today in the form of chapter 18. And today is the first verse. And like most of the chapters, it starts with a question. And here, the greatest devotee, Arjuna, is asking Arjuna Vacha, Sannyasasya Mahabaho. So he's referring to Krishna as Mahabaho. And as you know, in very different places, uh, Krishna, in the form of Lord Jagannath, is referred as Mahabaho. People ask, Lord Jagannath, in the form of Krishna, doesn't have a hand, but in various different poetic literature, various different illustration and scriptures, Lord Jagannath is referred as Mahabaho. How is it possible? And right here, Arjuna is referring to Krishna, whose form, Lord Jagannath, and in many scriptures, you'll see Lord Jagannath, who doesn't have hand, is referred as Mahabaho. So here, the context around Mahabaho has to be understood, because Mahabaho is someone who is mighty armed, who is like an archer, who is like a Kshatriya in this example. And in this example, Arjuna is asking, impersonating the question as somebody who has archery skills. So whenever you pose a question, the way you pose a question, you drive towards the answer. So Arjuna is a very, very bright person. So he's saying, oh Mahabaho, explain to me the difference, and we'll get that. Tattvam ichhami veditam. Tattvam ichhami veditam. That means I wish to understand. I wish to understand. And the third line being Tyagyascha Hrishikesha. And he's saying, explain to me the difference, and that difference is nothing but prathak. Prathak means difference. Prathak. So he's saying, explain me the difference between Tyagasya and Sannyasa, and who are you to explain this to me? You are going to explain to me as someone who is soothing to the senses. And what is that? Rishikesa. And when you explain like a soothing of my senses, the difference between Tyaga and Sannyasa, you are going to kill the doubt like you killed the KC demon, which represents doubt. The demoniac mentality people have doubts. So beautiful words, beautiful question. So this is how, if we take this instruction and apply how to ask question in our job life, in our business analyst life, or your developer life, or architect life, or project manager life. Beautiful way to ask a question. Everything is packed in that question. The question being, "Oh Mahabaho, who?" And when you are representing and answering the question, think about a potency you carry, which where you are an archer, where you are a mighty armed archer as a karmi in that form, where as Varnashrama, you're performing that duty. Explain to me the difference between sannyas and tyaga. And by doing that, you're going to give solace to my heart, like Rishikesh, who gives cleansing to the senses. And by doing that, doing the difference, by telling me the difference between tyaga and sannyasa, you're going to clear the doubt like you cleared the demon Casey. So beautiful words when you think about the kind of, because by this time Arjuna is not only asking intelligent question. Arjuna by himself is a very bright person, very intelligent person. But as the dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna is coming to the 18th chapter, and we're getting to the grand finale of Bhagavad Gita, which we're starting today, first verse of chapter 18, you realize how much power Arjuna is packing with this question. Oh Mahabaho, tell me the difference between sannyas and tyaga. And by doing that, you'll cleanse my senses, clear my doubt like Rishikesa, and you'll clear my doubt like Kesi, like how you killed Kesi demon. So beautiful verse when you think about a very powerful verse. And Srila Prabhupada is taking it to a higher level. And here he's giving a little bit summary about the first 6 chapters, the second 6 chapters, and the last 6 chapters. And the chapter just before that, we talked and discussed about how the material modes of material nature affect our food habits, affect so many of our actions. And before that, in these 17 chapters, Krishna has been explaining various yoga systems. He Krishna is explaining this yoga system because he wants us to be united with him. That's why he's explaining the yoga process. But we are not able to understand it in a right spirit. That's the reason why there is so much of doubt. And here Arjuna wants to clear his doubt for one and all. And that is why he is referring to Krishna as Kesi Nisudan. Kesi means, Kesi is a horse demon who was sent by Kamsa to kill Krishna. And on the day when Kesi was supposed to come, Madhumangala was playing, and Madhumangala is a wonderful character who takes Krishna's dress, impersonate as Krishna. And he, on that day of when they were gazing in the fields of Vrindavan, Madhumangala had worn the attire of Krishna with the peacock and the attire. Krishna in the form of Jagannath has so many veshas, Hathi Vesh, Bada Singhara Vesh, Nagarjuna Vesh, the archery Vesh, Raghunath Vesh, Krishna Balram Vesh, and so many ways. So, and in the enactment, Madhumangala took the dress, and Kesi, not recognizing that he is supposed to kill Krishna, attacked Madhumangala. And Madhumangala ran to Krishna. And there was a huge duel with Krishna, the real Krishna, in the gazing of the fields, on the gazing of the fields, with the horse demon. And as you know, horses are pulled from the mouth. So here, our gurus have explained, Kesi demon represents our bad ability to speak about others, defame others. So whenever we speak about the things which we are not supposed to speak about, and then the demoniac propensity is amplified. And KC demon represent that demoniac propensity where you always do chattering and prajalpa. And this ability to sort of get enthused in speaking about others, in talking about others, in defaming others, is a very pleasure potency of demoniac people and people with. So whenever we are doing a lot of prajalpa in our life, we have to recognize the mode of ignorance is setting in with, and here Arjuna is asking Krishna, as Kesi Nisudana, the way you liberated Kesi, who once happened to be, a subordinate to Indra, and there is a wonderful pastime there. We'll not go there. But essentially, Kesi represents the horse demon who Krishna killed, who represents Prajalpa. And when you do prajalpa, you put doubts in the minds of people. When you put doubts in the minds of the people, then it becomes a very, very challenging situation. A person might maybe one of the brightest person by giving a very negative impression about a person, we really defame and character assassinate somebody. And by doing that, we're doing a big disservice. And Krishna hates this. Krishna has says, whenever you end up doing prajalpa, it makes your path to have access to me very, very difficult. So here, Arjuna is referring to Krishna as Kesina Sudana. So let's get that down to the essence of the verse. And here, as I spoke a little bit, Krishna is referred as Mahabahu, who is mighty armed, and there are many literature you'll find where Lord Jagannath, in spite of not having hand, is referred as Mahabahu. That's the pastime he's enacting, and he is referred as Mahabahu, as in he is the karmi in this situation, and he is confused between the difference between sannyasa, which means the renounced order of life, and then tyaga is an act of renunciation. So what is tyaga when we think about, and there'll be more detailed discussion in the subsequent verses, but I would like to talk a little bit about what is renunciation, the act of renunciation, tyaga. The act of renunciation is not renouncing work, is not doing work, is not renunciation, it's laziness. And and doing work with a spirit of renunciation is tyaga. So this is a very profound line in terms of doing work with a spirit or mood of renunciation. So whenever you end up cleaning the vessels in a temple or doing some service, some very so-called materially called low-end service, cleaning the bathroom or whatever the case may be, you may be the brightest person in the world getting a wonderful fat salary. But when you end up doing that, that means you have truly understood the spirit of renunciation. And while you're basically doing work, you have left your position, left your name, fame, your wallet away, and that doing work with a spirit of renunciation is tyaga. So tyaga is not renouncing work. So Srila Prabhupada was very explicit in explaining that we do not want Babajis in our system. We want karmis exactly like Mahabahu, and they should end up doing. And there is a beautiful book to that effect where you think like a monk. There is this Jay Shetty who's written a beautiful book. That means it's all about doing things with the intent or with a spirit of renunciation. That's tyaga. And and tyaga is not renunciation of work or action, but renunciation in work or renunciation in action. So it's not renunciation of work or renunciation of action. It's renunciation in work. So doing work, renunciating. Doing action, renunciating. That is tyaga. So that's a very uh, key point which we have to discuss. And so sannyas is not sannyas of karma, but sannyas in karma. So sannyas, whenever you think about renounce out of life, and you think that it's a very easygoing life and they chant, that's definitely not sannyas. Sannyas is how to renunciate the material mindset, and you end up working for the supreme. So, let's try to discuss a little bit about this. So whenever I say that I'm having headache, and you all have heard it in your various different places. So when you hear that I have headache, if you are around, we are all detached, or rather in remote places hearing the conversation. But say, for example, we are in one place, we have 15 people who are attending the Zoom call right now. But instead of 15 people, 15 devotees, not in different places, they are all in the same place. And I just happen to utter the word, I'm having headache. So when you have heard it and you have processed it and you have kept it just like that, then it is just information and it is useless. But if one of you go out and get Amritanjan or some balm, that is a true action. So just by hearing this Bhagavad Gita, just by hearing this, hearing is okay. But if it is not really transpiring you or motivating you to do something, then it is useless. So hearing it, if that takes you to the attraction of doing photography of Krishna, or cooking for Krishna, or building a chariot for Krishna, or doing a festival for Krishna, or distributing, that is exactly like you have taken the essence of the headache and you have gone and got Amritanjan. That is what in Krishna consciousness we call devotional service. So without devotional service, this anything we end up doing is actually useless. It is just dry information, like I'm having headache. But if the headache is reciprocated with a intent to help, intent to do renunciation, intent to lead a life with a spirit to work, that is sannyas and tyaga. And there are, it's a bit different, and there is going to be, so here is the question which is being posed here. And then and Krishna is referred as Hrishikesha. He's the master of all senses, who can always help us attain material serenity. Clearly the difference or similarities, clarify the difference and similarities of sannyas and tyaga. So here he is referred as Rishikesha by somebody who can, Krishna mentions beautifully that he is responsible for our memory. He is responsible for our forgetfulness because he is controlling our senses, and his name is Rishikesha. So one who is controlling our senses, if he can explain the differences and similarities between sannyas and tyaga, then that's what he stands for. And also, Krishna can also clear the doubt and the doubt in our mind about the difference and similarities of sannyas and tyaga, like Kesi Sudana. So here, hearts like demon, horses are pulled from the mouth. So we have, and it is compared uh, with Prajalpa, the attitude of this demoniac quality where we talk about others and try to put them down, is the aspect of Prajalpa we have to shun. So, so Krishna is being posed this question by Arjuna, and then and then we will try to dwell more onto the subsequent verses where we have to discuss about uh, the real meaning of tyaga, basically to uh, work in Krishna consciousness is tyaga, and to renounce the activities that are based on material desire and to renounce the fruits is sannyas. So when you think about it, you can actually lead a sannyas life in your house. You just that you are not wearing the colorful attire. You can still lead a life of a monk or a mendicant in your house. Basically, you have to Krishnaize everything in your life around the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then whatever work you end up doing, it is as good as renounced order of life. So it is not uh, our ability to get a tag or get a prefix or a suffix in our name which makes us a sannyasi or a tyagi. It's our ability to do work for the Supreme with a spirit of renunciation. That is is true detachment, and that. So we'll take an example here. As you can see, uh, Bharatji, after being asked to lead the country when Ramji had to go on exile, he was so sad with the decision of Mother Kaikeyi that he became very angry. So he went to the forest to fetch Ramji, but Ramji said, "I have given a word; I can't really come back." So then, Ayodhya, the district, is a place of very uh, uh, luxury and very buildings and so many benefits. So he didn't come back to Ayodhya, the capital, in that sense. So he came back to a village called Nandigram, and in that village, which is actually in the Ayodhya district in UP today, and in Nandigram, he set up a hut, and there he put the padukas of Lord Ram, and he ran administration. He ran. He was actually a king without being a king. So he didn't shun away from the duty which is bestowed on him, but truly he was a sannyasi for all practical purposes. He renounced everything for the service of the Supreme. So this is an example where we all can try to do whatever we do in our lives, get to work, get Lakshmi to our homes, and then use the knowledge, use our time, use our um, consciousness for the pleasure of someone else. Just by getting the bookish knowledge is not really going to help us once you end up doing something. Love is all about expression, and without expressing, there is no love. So whenever you like someone, you tend to do something what they like. Likewise, if the Supreme Personality of Godhead is seeking that we renounce, but not renounce work, but renounce with the spirit of the result of the work, which is so beautiful to start the 18th chapter on this note. So we can go on and on, but would like to get some reflections from you, any comments, corrections you may have. And with that, I would like to end here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Any question, comments? Any additions? So it's a total silence. So, but I'm sure this is a very wonderful topic, which you may be thinking behind the scene. But I'm sure you'll have comments. If you have, please share so that we learn from your understanding. And Krishna consciousness is the Bhagavad Gita, as you know, is a frequently asked question. More questions we ask, more answers we give, more realizations we share. Krishna is multifaceted, and the best way to love Krishna is in the entourage of devotees. And you all bring in different perspective to this verse, but we are supposed to stay in the confines of Guru, Sadhus, and Shastra. So, however you would like to contribute, please go ahead and comment. So if there is none, we can end here. We can give back 10-15 minutes. So Mr. Prabhu, take it away. And it looks like there is no question.
Prabhu must be engaged in some other seva.
Okay. Hare Krishna Mataji. Okay. So, I mean, if there is no question, can we end here?
Yes, I think we can, Prabhu.
Yeah. Yes, Prabhuji, we can end. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So thank you so much for your kind attention. There is some, this chapter is a very long chapter and there is a lot to come. So I thank you for your kind attention. So let's all offer our humble obeisances at the lotus feet of all Vaishnavas by saying Vancha kalpataruvesha kripa sindhu vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Bhagavad Gita ki jai,
Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai,
Jai.
Premanande, Hari Hari.
Hari.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you,
Very
everybody.
nicely
Hari
explained.
Bol.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Hari Bol.
Prabhupada.